Let's be brutally real for a second. Have you ever noticed how the moment you stop chasing a woman, suddenly she starts noticing you? The texts come slower when you're interested, but the moment you pull away, she's the one watching your stories, sending random hey messages and asking what happened to you. It's confusing, right? Because everything you were taught about women told you to show her you care, be consistent, and prove your love. But here's the hard truth most men never want to face. Women are not drawn to the man who needs them. They're drawn to the man they can't fully have. You see, attraction for a woman isn't built through comfort. It's built through curiosity. The guy who's not interested in her becomes a puzzle her mind can't solve. And for a woman, mystery is emotional gravity. It pulls her in deeper, not because she wants to play games, but because her psychology is wired to seek the man who doesn't depend on her validation. When a man shows no interest, she doesn't see rejection. She sees value. She subconsciously thinks, why isn't he affected by me like everyone else? What makes him so sure of himself that he doesn't need to impress me? And that's when something powerful happens. Her ego becomes invested. Her emotions awaken. And her attraction builds not from what you say, but from what you withhold. That's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to make her want you, she starts to. But let's get one thing straight. This isn't about pretending not to care. It's about actually not needing her approval. Because when a man is truly independent, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, a woman feels that energy. It's not arrogance. It's not manipulation. It's masculine detachment. That's what every high-value man masters, the ability to want someone without needing them. It's power mixed with peace, and women are deeply, instinctively drawn to it. Here's what most men miss. When you chase a woman too much, you send her subconscious a signal that she's the prize and you're the player auditioning for her attention. And the moment she feels that, the attraction dies a quiet death. But when you flip that dynamic, when your energy says, I'm not here to convince you, I'm here to choose if you even fit in my world, her psychology can't help but respond differently. Because now you're the man with boundaries. You're the one she has to earn. And that's what ignites her instinct to pursue. Think about it. The men women talk about the most are rarely the ones who gave them constant attention. They're the ones who made them feel slightly uncertain, just enough to make their emotions come alive. That's why she keeps thinking about the guy who didn't reply right away, why she checks the profile of the one who seems completely unfazed by her charm, why she remembers the man who didn't try to impress her, but simply existed in his own strength. That's the quiet power most men never discover. You don't attract women by doing more, you attract them by needing less. And once you understand that, you stop being reactive, you stop chasing, you start leading. Because here's the secret few will tell you. When a man stops centering his life around a woman, he becomes the kind of man women naturally want to center their lives around. That's not theory, that's psychology. And once you learn to embody that, you'll never have to win a woman again because she'll want to win you. You want to know why women chase men who seem uninterested? It's not because they like pain or rejection. It's because their emotional system is wired to crave what validates their worth. When a woman meets a man who doesn't instantly fall under her spell, it triggers something ancient inside her. It's not conscious, it's instinct. Her ego whispers, why isn't he responding like the others? Does he see something in me that's not enough? That tiny question becomes an obsession, and that obsession fuels attraction. Understand this. Women are emotional detectives. They read energy, tone, silence. They notice the man who doesn't over-explain himself, who doesn't overshare, who doesn't immediately seek their approval, because that man stands out in a world full of men begging to be seen. And that's why emotional control is the most powerful form of attraction you can ever master. When you can sit across from a beautiful woman and not need to prove your worth, when you can enjoy her company without needing to impress her, when you can walk away if her energy feels off, not out of anger, but self-respect, that's when she feels something she rarely feels. Respect mixed with curiosity. That combination is what creates emotional tension. And tension is the heartbeat of attraction. Most men kill that tension by rushing. They overtext, they overpraise, they overexplain. They think connection comes from closeness, but real connection is born in contrast. It's in the space you leave, the silence between messages, the pause before replying, the unspoken confidence that says, "I like you, but I don't need you." That's the paradox women can't resist, because deep down, every woman wants to feel chosen, but not by a man who chooses too easily. She wants to earn it, to feel that her beauty, her energy, her presence actually moved a man who doesn't get moved easily. That's why uninterested men seem magnetic. They represent a challenge, and for a woman, challenge equals value. Let me tell you something most women will never admit. They don't fall for the man who says, "You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen." They fall for the man who looks at them and simply says, "You're interesting," and means it. That's the difference between validation and intrigue. Validation says, "I see your worth." Intrigue says, "I'm still deciding." And women are emotionally drawn to the man whose approval they have to earn. But here's where most men get it wrong. They hear this truth and start pretending not to care. They play games, act cold, ignore messages, or fake disinterest. But women can feel fake energy. They can tell when your detachment is just insecurity in disguise. Real masculine detachment comes from fullness, not emptiness. It comes from a man who's focused on his purpose, his peace, his mission. A man who's building his life, not begging for a woman to give it meaning. When you live that way, you don't have to act uninterested. You naturally are uninterested in anything that doesn't align with your standards. And here's the beauty of it. When you stop chasing women, the right women start chasing you, because your silence becomes louder than their games. Your self-control becomes more attractive than any pickup line, and your presence becomes something rare, something that commands attention without asking for it. Every woman can sense when a man is grounded in himself. It's in the way you move, the way you speak, the way you stay calm, even when she tries to test you. And yes, she will test you. When she pulls back to see if you'll chase, when she gives you mixed signals to see if you'll break your frame, when she acts distant just to see if you'll lose composure, that's not cruelty, that's instinct. She's testing your strength, not your love. Because deep down, every woman wants to feel safe in your energy, not because you're controlling her, but because she can trust that you won't collapse under pressure. That's what creates real attraction, not your looks, not your money, but your emotional discipline. It tells her, "I'm the calm in the chaos. I'm the man who chooses peace over panic." And once you learn to embody that, you'll never chase again. You'll simply attract. Every man wants to be remembered, but few know how to leave that mark. Not through constant attention, not through words or grand gestures, but through presence, the kind that lingers in her mind long after you've gone quiet. You see, a woman doesn't fall in love with your words. She falls in love with the feeling your presence gives her. And presence isn't something you perform, it's something you become. It begins with stillness, with the ability to be fully where you are, not chasing, not waiting, not hoping, just existing in your own power. Because a grounded man feels like gravity. He doesn't need to pull her in, she just naturally orbits closer. Most men lose that energy by overinvesting too early. They think interest must always be shown. But the truth is, your silence often says more than your compliments ever could. When you don't rush to fill every space with words, your mystery speaks louder than your voice. Women feel that. They can sense when your attention is calm, not desperate. They can feel when your eye contact isn't searching for validation. It's simply observing. That's what sets you apart. Because here's something most men never realize. A woman's attraction doesn't rise because you show her interest. It rises when she feels you're not dependent on her reaction. When she looks at you and sees that your self-worth doesn't shake whether she flirts or goes cold, that your emotions remain steady even when she's unpredictable, that's when her respect for you deepens. And where respect grows, attraction always follows. You become a different kind of man in her eyes, not another admirer, not another option. You become the one she quietly wonders about, the one she replays in her head because she couldn't quite read you. That's the art most men never master, being emotionally unreadable, not because you're hiding something, but because you're not seeking control. You've already mastered yourself. You see, emotional strength isn't about never feeling. It's about not letting your feelings drive your worth. It's being able to say, I want her, but I don't need her. It's the peace that says, if she stays, it's beautiful. If she leaves, it's still fine. That level of calm confuses most women, in the best way, because they're not used to it. They're used to men who chase their mood, mirror their chaos, and lose themselves trying to please them. But when a man remains centered, quietly confident, emotionally solid, it awakens something primal in her. She feels safe, yet excited, challenged, yet respected. She doesn't know why she can't stop thinking about you, but she feels it every time your name crosses her mind. That's the energy of a man who's mastered presence. And it's not something you fake, it's something you build. How? By learning to be alone without feeling lonely. By building your life so rich and full that no woman could ever complete you. She could only complement you. By having purpose, goals, habits, and self-respect that fill your days with meaning. Because when your life has direction, your energy has value. And when your energy has value, women naturally respond to it. It's not about becoming cold or distant. It's about being emotionally disciplined. It's about not giving your time or energy where it's not reciprocated. It's about walking away when your peace is being tested, not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring about yourself more. That's what women sense at a deep level. A man who's free. Free from approval, free from insecurity, free from needing someone to tell him he's enough. And when you live that way, your presence becomes unforgettable. Not because you're trying to be mysterious, but because your energy speaks of self-mastery. You become the man she can't replace, because she's not just attracted to what you give her, she's addicted to what you make her feel. Safe, curious, alive. That's the power of the man who doesn't chase. He simply is. And every woman, whether she admits it or not, feels it deep in her bones. Let's be honest. Every man has that one woman he couldn't forget. But what you don't realize is, she has one too. And it's almost never the man who gave her everything. It's the man she could never quite figure out. Because mystery leaves a mark. That attention never will. And that's the truth most men miss. They think love is built by showing more, giving more, proving more. But the men who stay in a woman's mind the longest are the ones who stayed true to themselves first. When a man moves with purpose, when he has standards, when he knows who he is even in the face of rejection, that's when he becomes unforgettable. Because he represents something rare in today's world, a man who cannot be emotionally manipulated. You see, a woman may admire the man who adores her, but she remembers the man who respected himself enough to walk away when she tested his limits. That man doesn't react to games. He doesn't beg for attention. He doesn't lose his composure when she goes silent. He remains calm, grounded, and focused. And that silence speaks louder than any argument ever could, because women feel the weight of that kind of strength. It's not loud, it's not arrogant, it's quiet. It's the kind of power that says, I care, but I'll never chase chaos. That's what every woman remembers when she's alone. The man who didn't lose himself trying to win her. The one who didn't bend his peace for temporary affection. The one whose energy stayed steady while hers wavered. That's the man she compares every other man to. Not because he played games, but because he embodied control. He was peace in a world addicted to noise. And here's what that really means for you. When you master emotional detachment, not coldness, but calm awareness, you shift from chasing love to attracting respect. And respect, once earned, becomes the foundation for real connection. Because women don't fall in love with how much you like them. They fall in love with how you make them feel about themselves when they're around you. If your energy makes her feel secure, valued, and curious, she'll chase that feeling again and again. And the only way to give that to her is by already having it within yourself. That's why inner peace is the most magnetic quality a man can ever develop. It makes you immune to manipulation. It makes you emotionally unpredictable, not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're genuinely content with or without her. That's power, that's presence, that's freedom. And the men who live in that freedom don't fear losing a woman because they know no one can take what's meant for their path. They know attraction is never about chasing. It's about being. Being a man with boundaries. Being a man with purpose. Being a man who can walk away from what doesn't serve his peace, not out of ego, but out of self-respect. When you live that way, everything changes. You stop seeking attention. You start commanding respect. You stop asking for love. You start becoming love, calm, grounded, and whole. And that's the man women crave, but rarely find. The man who isn't controlled by his emotions, yet feels deeply. Who listens without trying to please. Who loves without losing himself. That's the man she dreams of when she says she wants a real one. That's the man who doesn't chase, because he already knows his worth. And that's the man you were always meant to become. So next time you catch yourself wanting to prove your value to a woman, pause. Breathe. Remember this truth. The more you need her to see your worth, the less she'll feel it. But the moment you know your worth, without her validation, she'll start to feel it without you saying a word. Because peace is the loudest energy a man can carry. And once you have it, you'll never chase again. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever realized that a woman became more interested after you stopped showing interest? What did that moment teach you about yourself? Drop your story in the comments. Your experience might open another man's eyes tonight. If this video spoke to you, give it a like. Subscribe for more raw truths about female psychology and masculine self-mastery. And share this with a friend who needs to hear it right now, before he forgets his own value.